Director at Iowa Workforce Development. And he's going to talk to us about Iowa's apprenticeship program. So Dane, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you for the introduction. I have to say, Shelley and I worked together for a few years now, and it used to be where we were many, many miles apart, and now we work literally 50 feet from each other and hardly ever see each other in our office. So it's just always kind of ships passing by. So good to see you, Shelley. Hopefully I see you again soon in the office. So good morning, everybody. I am Dane Sulentic. I am the State Apprenticeship Director here at Iowa Office of Apprenticeship, which is housed at Iowa Workforce Development. I was actually going through kind of looking to see if I recognize some names on here, and boy, do I ever. So it's good to see a lot of familiar faces. I'm really excited to present today. This Reentry, statewide Reentry conference is near and dear to my heart. Back when I used to work at Department of Corrections, I used to help organize this and get speakers going. So I understand the impact of it, and I'm really excited to kind of be on this side of it and see that it's still going strong, and a ton of awesome attendance and a ton of awesome speakers the next couple of days. So thank you all again for that. So as I did mention, my previous role before I took on the state director role here for the Office of Apprenticeship I was the state apprenticeship coordinator at Iowa Department of Corrections. So I oversee all of those programs. Miss Jennifer Steele is now in that role, doing a fantastic job. So again, I'm very familiar with this population, with a lot of what you all are doing, and I guess I'm excited to share the opportunity now with how apprenticeship throughout the state has changed. Apprenticeship itself has not changed. It's actually been the same for about 10,000, 20,000 years. But how it's run in the state of Iowa has changed dramatically, and that's what I hope to kind of share with you all today. What has changed, kind of the history of apprenticeship in Iowa, and then what the Iowa Office of Apprenticeship does and oversee, and what my team is doing on a daily basis. And then also how you can connect with us. So buckle up. You are in for some fun apprenticeship talk. I'm hoping my computer and everything works here. Also, if I do happen to go off screen, it's probably because I'm getting a drink of water. It is currently 80.1 degrees in my office here. So I'm gonna bear through. I'm gonna keep the jacket on, and I might start sweating, probably start shining up here, but that's okay. So we'll go ahead and get started. So again, I have three main parts here. Like I said, the history, kind of what we overview, and then how to connect with us. But first, what I want to do is just, for those of you on the call that happen to maybe not quite be as familiar with registered apprenticeship, I just want to give a quick rundown of what it is and how it works. And there's a few main pieces with registered apprenticeship. One is, it is industry driven, right? Industry dictates what apprenticeships are, what training goes into it, and how long they are, which is great because they are the experts. You want industry to, understand and make those parameters around what these training programs are. Paid work, progressive wages, and you get a nationally recognized certificate, which I'll get into in a little bit here. So it's a legitimate, real training pathway. And it's vetted through the United States Department of Labor. So even though we are now a state apprenticeship agency, USDOL still oversees the national apprenticeship system. So we still have to adhere to some guidelines and regulations through DOL, which I'll again get into here in a bit. But it is, and that's that makes it the standardized across this country. Really is that oversight and the compliance and making sure everyone is doing everything like they should be. And then it also allows you to access a larger talent pool. Literally anyone can be in a registered apprenticeship, as long as you're over the age of 16, I should say. And that's fantastic because there's a lot of work gaps right now in the workforce, and not everyone fits in the same box. So apprenticeship might be that pathway that an employer is missing to help fill those positions. The core components, I really like this diagram. It really breaks down. Now, I will say each one of these little buckets or little circles could be its own probably 15 to 30-minute presentation. So I won't dive into this very much, but I do want to, I think it's a good visual for everyone to see kind of what goes into registered apprenticeship. And I'm not going to dive into all of these. But really what apprenticeship boils down to is on-the-job learning, on-the-job training by a mentor, a professional in the field, and then related training instruction or that classroom component. Those are the two main pieces of registered apprenticeship. Um, and then the other bucket on here I want to just touch on is that diversity piece. And what we mean by diversity in registered apprenticeship, it really does mean anyone, any age, can do a registered apprenticeship. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter if you have any skills, because that's the point of registered apprenticeship is they will teach you what those skills are from day one all the way through completion. This allows employers to bring people in at an entry level and upskill their own workforce. It allows employers also to utilize their current workforce and upskill them. So you have this pipeline of people going through these training programs. It can be rural, it can be urban, it can be wherever. So that's what we mean by diversity is registered apprenticeship really is a tool for just about everybody in some capacity. So I'm just going to do a quick history here, an overview. So up until June of last year, the apprenticeship in the state of Iowa was overseen by the United States Department of Labor Iowa office. And they did a fantastic job. They were able to really grow and expand registered apprenticeship over the last 10, 15 years. But really, I think what they were able to do is grow it in those non-traditional apprenticeable occupations. You know, I think when most people think of apprenticeship, they think of the trades. And rightly so, because that's the bread and butter. That's really where apprenticeship, at least in the United States, was developed, was for those trade occupations, to require those to have those safety requirements and ensure that people are learning from professionals. But they were able to really expand registered apprenticeship into those non-traditional occupations. And then a few years ago, Governor Reynolds and the Iowa Workforce Development Team leadership realized, like, hey, there's opportunities that the state of Iowa could actually take over the management and oversight of registered apprenticeship. It's called state apprenticeship agencies. And as they did some more diving into that, they realized, there's quite a few states that are doing that already, and they're continuing to be more states wanting to become an SAA state. And so that's when we officially started that process. To basically take the reins from the Department of Labor and have the state of Iowa manage it, all things apprenticeship. So first things first, the Iowa Office of Apprenticeship was officially established July of 2023, and that was codified in the Registered Apprenticeship Act, 84D, for those of you that love to read code, go check that out. But really, I got a lot of code for you then, Katrina, just wait. But really again, as I said, really what the duties of the office is really to take over that oversight of registered apprenticeship, help develop those standards. We are the registering body for all things apprenticeship in the state. So anything with registered apprenticeship runs through our office, okay? So then fast forward a year from when IOA became an official office. It was June 27th, 2024. So the process was, as you can imagine, working with the federal government and state governments. Sometimes that doesn't align exactly all that great. So it did take a while for the two entities to kind of agree on how things were going to look. It was a very intense process to ensure the Department of Labor that Iowa can manage this. We have all of the resources and ability to take on this duty. And June 27th, 2024, we are coming up on our 1-year anniversary, DOL officially approves Iowa as a state apprenticeship agency. However, on June 26th, we were still IOA within IWD, just kind of doing our thing, getting ready. June 27th, we had all complete oversight of all programs, all apprentices. So with a flick of a switch, if you will, we now oversaw over 9,000 apprentices and over almost 1,000 registered programs. So needless to say, there was a bit of scrambling, a lot of building the plane and flying it as we were going. I got to say, we're still kind of doing that in some regard. But we've been able to really take those and run. We have an amazing team, which I'll get to them here in a little bit. And we learned a ton from our DOL our previous DOL team that we basically took the baton from. So as an SAA state, we still, like I said before, we still have to adhere to some federal guidelines. The CFR 2929 and 2930. There you go, Katrina. There's another fun one for you. And then there's at the moment, there's more SAA states than more states that are overseen by a DOL office. So the trend is still going. And my team, we actually have met with 2 states this week alone to talk about the transition from to an SAA state. So it's kind of funny that we've kind of become the people that other states are coming to ask questions about transitioning when we're still kind of working on that ourselves. But it's great. It's a lot of insight. We have a lot of insight of just some do's and some don'ts. So we're happy to do all of that. But why SAA? Why do all of this? If DOL was doing such a great job, which they were, why did we kind of take over the apprenticeship management? And really, it was to bring the growth of apprenticeship, and take that momentum and bring it down to a local level, bring it down to a state level, bring it down to a community level, and look at the actual landscape of Iowa. So my team and I, we're able to really look and see where are those gaps, where are those deserts of registered apprenticeship, what's working, what's not, and specifically work in those regions, work in those communities in the state that DOL just wasn't going to do. We are actually able to get down in the local level and understand what the barriers are and understand how we can maybe, change a few things. We are, as a state apprenticeship agency, we are flexible in the way that we oversee it now. There are some things, like I said, that we do have to adhere to still, but for the most part, we can be creative, which is the part that I love, right? We can look and say, what's not working? Why didn't DOL do this? Okay, well, maybe we can, and look at those ways that we can really grow apprenticeship. The other piece is that one-on-one program development. We have 4 apprenticeship program coordinators, or APCs, throughout the state that have the state divided up. And they each work with over, I'd say, at least 120 sponsors throughout the state on their caseload. But each one of them has met with those sponsors, worked with them, worked with their program. And we really are, customer service is a huge piece of what we're trying to do, because apprenticeship there's a lot that goes into it. And if you're new to it and you have no idea kind of, the history or how things work, it can be very confusing. So our team does a great job of that one-on-one program development. And again, that personalized customer service, really understanding what the needs are, what those barriers are. We've implemented webinars. We've implemented a lot of TA support sessions for sponsors. It's not required, but we want to be transparent. We want to help. But we've seen an uptick in each one of these as we have them. More and more people are showing up. And it's really just to help. It's to help explain certain aspects. What does a compliance review look like? What is a good mentor look like? How do you train your staff to be mentors? All of those things that are really important to have a successful apprenticeship program. So this is just to give you an idea. All of the blue states are states that are SAA. So you can kind of see throughout the nation kind of where SAA is going and is continuing to grow, and what states are still those DOL run states. And along with establishing the Iowa Office of Apprenticeship, we also have a state apprenticeship council as well, which is fantastic. And ultimately, the role of that council is it's an advisory council. But we have experts. If you look at the council members here, they're in different trades, different sectors. We have healthcare represented. We have high school education represented. And then we also obviously have the trades represented. So we're really trying to diversify and bring experts in that field that have apprenticeship programs together to, again, break down some of those barriers. What can we do to help grow apprenticeship in healthcare facilities? As we all know, registered nurses, CNAs are a huge need in the state of Iowa. Well, just so happens that those are apprenticeable occupations. And over the last 6 months, we've actually registered our first, I think we have up to 5 or 6 now RN programs that are up and running. So it's just continuing to grow, excuse me. So really this team is, assembled to really help us understand what's out there, but be advocates for our team and registered apprenticeship as a whole. So I just wanted to allude, some of you may recognize some of these names, so feel free to reach out to them if you have any questions. And again, that's just kind of what the council's, support of us is to do. So moving on. So I want to go over our team and kind of what IOA oversees. So we started with, I think, a team of 3 or 4, and we're up to 10 now over the last, well, I'd say probably the last year. Some of these names I think are probably pretty familiar to you. Some may not be. But I have, I mean, I'm biased, but I will say I have one of the best teams, at least in all of the state of Iowa. We have such a passionate team here that, and you're like, well, it's just registered apprenticeship. How passionate can you be? They're really passionate about this, and it's fantastic. They see the potential. They understand how it impacts lives. It impacts employers and businesses, and they truly care about these programs. Not, I mean, obviously the apprentices and everything else, but they care about the integrity of the programs and really making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do to ensure that apprentices have the best training they can, that employers are receiving the best service that they can. So when I mentioned before about the APCs, we have 4: Todd, Deb, Chris, and Martha. There's again sprinkled out throughout the state. And they're the ones that are primarily doing that program development, working directly with employers to become sponsors or working with existing sponsors to make sure they're, again, meeting the needs, being in compliance. If they have make any changes to their standards, they'll do that. So Colby and Sandy, they work in our main office here at 1000 East Grand. Colby's our program manager and Sandy's our administrative specialist. Colby does a little bit of everything. She works a lot of behind the scenes, helping with processes and understanding how this is all new. It's never been done in the state. So basically everything we're doing, we are creating. Now, granted, we are working with our partners in other states, but really we have to make sure it fits for Iowa. So you can imagine all of the kind of, okay, let's put this on paper and let's take it from here and let's create these processes. So it's a very arduous task. And we finally get to an endpoint, but that's just what we're consistently doing. Chloe does a fantastic job helping with that. She also oversees one of our bigger federal grants, so she does a ton. Sandy's kind of our behind the scenes. She's also our front line. She's the one that receives all the phone calls. She's reaching out to employers or apprentices with any questions that they have. But she's also kind of our database, our Rapids database, making sure we're getting our reports in, helping looking at trends, where our deficiencies are, making sure we're up to date on all of our compliance stuff that we have to do. And then Ann and Ashley work specifically with our grants, which I'll get into here in a little bit, our state apprenticeship grants and also some other federal grants that we have. And then Abby is our work-based learning program designer, which is a relatively new role. And I know work-based learning probably for some of you has been in the forefront over the last year or so, but it's been a huge push to bring work-based learning and provide work-based learning opportunities to all high schools in the state of Iowa. So she actually works really close, with the Department of Ed to figure out how this all can fit together, kind of what our two roles as these two state agencies working within the schools, but also working with employers. So Abby's main role is really to work with employers, connect them with high schools, and develop quality pre-apprenticeships and registered apprenticeships and any other work-based learning aspects as well when it comes to that. So this is our team. Like I said, wouldn't trade them for anything. So what does IOA oversee? So there's only five points on here that I put. I had like 10 to start with. I was like, well, that's probably too much, and that'll be way too long in a presentation. So I kind of just boiled it down to these. But again, like obviously the primary role of IOA is this being the state registration agency, program development and compliance of apprenticeship programs, right? But we also oversee grants. We make sure that the communication of registered apprenticeship, how all of that is through our office. We have to make sure people understand how apprenticeship works, how people talk about it. I still hear it's going to be my goal to have everyone somehow, some way know that an internship and apprenticeship are not the same thing. But I was the same way when I first started in a registered apprenticeship, work. I was like, well, isn't it just an internship? I was like, oh boy. So it's just simple things like that. It's just getting the message out, right? Like here, this is how this is how it works. This is what you can do. And then just again, all of the behind the scenes, the systems, the data, like everything that we have to provide, just not on a state level, but also at a federal level. So I'm just going to quickly kind of go through each of these, just because I want to dive into it a little bit more so you have a better understanding. The program development, I've kind of already talked about this. Again, we're continuing to hone our processes and our procedures, but really it is working with sponsors to create those programs, help them understand, is this the best path for you? Even though it can be, it may not be. So maybe an actual internship is better for you. Just given your staffing and what the occupation is and how much time you have to get people through. So we have these conversations up front and I'll be the first one to say as the state director that apprenticeship may not be for everybody or every employer, and that's okay. But if it is, we're here to support you. The grants and financial support. So and again, some of these may be familiar to some of you. We have two state grants, 84E and 84F, formerly 15B and 15C. Basically, those provide funding to new apprenticeship programs starting up, and also existing employers that have programs. 84E provides just, again, funding each year, depending on how many apprentices you have, how many occupations. It's an algorithm that kind of dictates that. We also have our Teach a Para-Educator grant, TPRA grant. This is a federal grant. This has been pretty amazing to see this from where it started to where it is now. Obviously, throughout the last few years, teachers have been a shortage in the state of Iowa. We've had over 133 teachers go through this program, get their degree, so that they can be a licensed teacher and complete their apprenticeship. So that's 133 teachers that potentially wouldn't have been in classrooms if it wasn't for this program. So it truly is a pretty awesome program that we have here. And paraeducators as well. And then the Iowa Health Careers, same concept, right? We've had, again, getting CNAs, getting EMTs, all of those those healthcare positions up to an RN, right? Helping them work through that. And what these grants do, they help pay for tuition, they help pay for classes, wages, all of those kind of things. And then again, the 84 Ian grant, just some numbers there. So E&F, excuse me. And then compliance and monitoring, right? Again, a big piece of being an SIA state is ensuring that we're still adhering to those parameters that DOL put forth, and that we have to make sure that all of our programs are in compliance. And like I said before, we really want to ensure the integrity of the program. We want to ensure like the apprentices are learning what they need to learn and they're safe. That the mentors are trained to be basically teachers and being able to understand, like, hey, you've got these people you're overseeing. You're responsible for them. You need to make sure that you're able to train and help them understand what they need to know. Because if you're 40 feet up on a ladder or on a pole working with electricity, you want to know what you're doing, right? And that's where the training really comes into play there. So we do a lot with the compliance and monitoring. And then again, external relations and partnerships, doing exactly what I'm doing today, helping explain what we do, get the word out, and answer questions. Collaborate with stakeholders, work with other state agencies, work with nonprofits, work with whoever to understand, okay, how can apprenticeship work for you? What are those needs? Work with chambers and councils and communities that have the connections to the employers, right? There's thousands of employers in the state of Iowa. We can't go to every one of them one-on-one and have these conversations. So we need to be able to have, bring them together through a conduit or as a network. And that's what, as our office, we can help do that. And then again, I think this is the last one here. The system and processes, again, the behind the scenes, learning what the landscape is. Like we actually have a big project out right now to get feedback. What's working, what's not. And then growing that and using that to grow and expand in the next 3 to 5 years. So just a few numbers. I don't have a lot. I mean, I have a ton of stuff I could share, but I think, again, I don't only have so much time. But I think the big thing was, I just want you to see how for the state of Iowa and how big we are, we are one of the highest performing, and as far as numbers go, in the nation when it comes to registered apprenticeship. We have almost 10,000. I really want to get to that number. My OCD kicks in when I don't see that get to 10,000. So that's a goal of ours, is to get to 10,000 active apprentices and keep that and just keep going. And then also get to 1,000 registered programs. It's a steady increase. If you look at the numbers, there's ebbs and flows. One of the graphs, I didn't share it, but if you put it all together, and it looks like literally a 4-year-old just kind of colored on it. It's peaks and valleys, up and downs, but that's the reality of registered apprenticeship. But I think if you look at it from years, you can see the trend, at least, especially from the early 2000s all the way up to here. apprenticeship has really continued to grow, especially in our state, but also nationwide. Thought this was interesting just to give you all an idea of kind of what the main occupations are, like what we have the most of. And as you'll see there, number 5 is that teacher. But that's again due to that grant. But that's pretty cool. Again, be able to and CNA to be able to have those kind of jump up the list and help fill those gaps in the workforce. But again, the first 4 there are probably not surprising to anyone. Again, the trades really do take on the bulk of what registered apprenticeship is. So, and that's like I said, that's how it's really always been. That's probably how it's going to continue to be. But we want to continue to push those non-traditional apprenticeable programs. You know, your ITs, your healthcares. You know, getting into businesses, looking at how can this work for you, not just trades. And this is just a coverage map of our APCs. So for all of you across the state, you can kind of put a name to from where you're located in the state. But it's a lot, 99 counties. There's a lot of programs out there, and we try to split it as evenly as we possibly could. So just more of a visual, just kind of see how the state's broken down as far as APCs to sponsors go. So the next piece I want, which is going to really, I think, test my Zoom acumen here. I want to show you how you can connect with us, because I think that's probably where everyone's wondering, okay, this is all great. How do we get a hold of you? Or I have someone that would be interested in a registered apprenticeship. What do I need to do, right? So we do have our own website. So I am going to try to do this. Do you guys see this? Do you see the website, or do you still see my presentation? Awesome. Woo! Okay. So at our website, which it's posted here, and I will share the link and all of that too, but it's within IWD, but it's our own website within the IWD site, which is a bit cumbersome, but that's okay. So we have a lot of awesome information on here. I suggest when you have a minute, just go check it out. But if you scroll down, forgive me for scrolling, you go here, you go to connect state apprenticeship staff, okay? And then I'll tell you kind of what's on this page. But if you go down here, we have these forms, and we try to make this as simple as possible. If you click here, so this is career seekers. So if you're working with individuals that are potentially interested in a registered apprenticeship, go here, and then this form will populate. Okay, and it's literally just a few questions. And even down here, you can even make some comments like I'm so-and-so, I work with this agency or this nonprofit. I help complete this form with such. That way, when we get these, we kind of know the background or a little context to where it came from. So if it's a job seeker, it actually goes to our America Job Centers at IWD that are sprinkled out throughout the state. So our team actually does not work directly with job seekers, with apprentices. This form will get directed to those operational managers in those locations across the street. So wherever you are, you put your location in there, the form will automatically get sent to them, and then they will connect this form with a career planner. That career planner will then reach out and start that conversation with this individual. Hey, I hear you're interested in this apprenticeship. Why don't you come on into our office? Let's look at a few options, okay? It is as simple as that. Then if you're working with employers, that would be right here. Same site, same area, just down here. And this is the form that actually comes to us. So again, same concept, just some very basic information. But this is what our team gets. So Sandy, as I mentioned on our team before, she will get these, and she will actually follow up with these employers and these sponsors. And again, I thought there was a place for you to, maybe not on this one, but we'll follow up with them. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to ask some follow-up information, because there's a lot of people that ask, hey, I'm interested in this. I just want some info, right? Well, that can get pretty time consuming, just continuing to have these conversations and send emails. So what we do is we actually send another form, a very brief form, but a lot more detail. And if that employer fills that out, then we know they're actually really interested and they want to have a follow-up conversation. And that's when one of our APCs, Deb, Chris, Todd, or Martha, will actually contact them and start that conversation of potentially starting and getting them registered as a sponsor. So it is as simple as that. It's on our website, 2 forms, one for job seeker, one for employers. Because I know there's all of you on here work with different entities and individuals. So I want to make sure I highlighted both of those. There's also a form here if you want someone from our team to come speak or be at an event, just so that we kind of have a heads up. As you can imagine, our calendars are pretty full. So it's easier for us to know if you have something coming up in the next couple of weeks, fill this form out, see if one of us can be available if you want us to speak or even do a virtual thing. It's just, again, it's easier this way so that, we want to make sure we can do as much of these. So it helps us kind of, again, schedule and look at our calendars a little bit better. So I am going to now try to get back to my presentation. All right. So the next piece, so that's just one of the forms. I think some of you probably have seen this as well. You may love it or hate it because I think sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we're really trying to build this to be a one-stop to see what registered apprenticeship programs are in the state, where they're located, but also who's hiring. And that's a big piece of it. So this map, which again, bear with me, is back on our website. It's up here in the middle, okay? This is the data program information. All right, it's got some numbers. But if you go here, it's interactive, okay? If you go here and this map does not work, please reach out to our team because we need to know that so that we can let IT know because they're doing some updates on the back end and sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. But this is a really cool tool. So let's say, you're in, and you can check, let's say you're in Ames, right? And you want to see what sponsors are in the Ames area. So boom, there you go. All of these, it'll sort it just like that for you. We've got contacts, we've got phone numbers, we've got addresses, what the program is, and what the name of the company is, okay? Now, again, at the moment, this does not tell us who's hiring. We are working on that so that eventually we will either have these like bolded or color-coded to say Ames Plumbing Service is hiring, right? So not only do all of these have apprenticeship programs, but if they're color-coded or identified, that will indicate that they're actually hiring for those programs. So we are currently working on that, but that will be a fantastic once we get to that point. So this will kind of be a one-stop shop as a tool and a resource. If you're working with people like, hey, I'm in this area, I'm curious, what options do we have? Well, are you interested in the trades? Are you interested in apprenticeship? What do you want to do? Boom, go to this map. And then hopefully soon you'll be able to see even who's hiring, okay? So with that, and again, if you're having any technical issues, please, you can either email Ryan here at IWD or just shoot me a message. We want to know because we do get a lot of people saying, oh, it doesn't work. I get a frowny face. It just doesn't pop up. So we want to make sure this is working. I've never had an issue with it, but again, that's, not the case all the time. So, and then again, just some, again, Jen, I'll send this to you. That way you can send this out, but just some links, again, kind of what I went over as far as how to connect with us. All right. So with that, I'm actually done. I just want to say before we wrap up, and I haven't been looking at the chat, so forgive me, but if there's some questions, I absolutely want to get to those. I truly am passionate, hopefully you can tell, about registered apprenticeship and how this does impact lives. I think my role working at Department of Corrections really solidified that for me. Working with this population, as we all do, we know the barriers and we know the struggles, not just from an individual standpoint, but also from an employer standpoint of just getting employers to understand that these individuals are good workers. They will work for you. What do I need to do to help you realize that, right? And we have some awesome employers that truly understand it, and they do give those chances, for individuals reentering or justice involved individuals. But apprenticeship really can be that conduit. It really can be that pathway. And like I said before, it's not a catch-all. It's not for everyone, but it at least can be a part of the conversation. And if it's not registered apprenticeship, maybe it's another earn and learn type of training, right? Earn and learn is really the crux of all of this. It's working on a job, getting trained on the job by someone who is an expert in that field, and then getting that supplemental training along the way. So even if it's a 4-week training, that can be fantastic if it's you're getting paid and you're learning as you go. So our office is also looking at different pathways, not just registered apprenticeship, but maybe some non-registered apprenticeship or some type of youth apprenticeship where, because a registered apprenticeship in high schools, it's very cumbersome. We all know how busy high school students are. So to add that to their plate, because it's a job, and I can't believe I haven't said this yet through this whole presentation, but registered apprenticeship is a job. All right. It's not just a training that you go through for a few days or a few weeks and then poof, you're done. You are getting employed. You have to be hired on, and then you are part of the registered apprenticeship program. Okay. So with high school students, it's difficult, especially if it's one of those trades. It is a hard path. Those trade programs are 4 years long. There's nothing easy about it, but you do get paid. And you do get incremental wage scales as you pass through each one of your markers. And then at the end, you're a journey worker, you've got your certificate, and you're ready to go. So we're looking at ways to really build the earn and learn and the apprenticeship model in high schools that doesn't have all of the restrictions, if you will, and with registered apprenticeship. I don't want to say restrictions, but just all of that goes in with registered apprenticeship, all the requirements. That was the word I was looking for. So we are again, as Iowa Office of Apprenticeship, now that we are an SAA state, we can look at all of these things and really put some policies and processes forward to help employers and individuals in Iowa. And I ask all of you for any ideas or any thoughts, shoot those to us. Let's have conversation. Let's see. Again, I have a soft spot for this population and working with these individuals because I know the impact that these programs can have and how successful they can be, even if they're just part of it. I've always said, especially in corrections, and if it's just a 1-year program, but if it, compared to a 4-year program, that might be the first thing these individuals have ever completed in their life. And if that's what they get out of it, the confidence just to have that, that's a positive. Whether they work in that field or not when they get out, whatever, right? But you made an impact because they now know that they can accomplish something, and then that can springboard them into something else. So I just wanted to say that before I kind of turned it back over. I really am passionate about this. My team is passionate about this. We see the value. We understand how this impacts people, and like I said, we're really excited to be a part of this journey as we go and be the ones helping kind of mold and create it. And like I said, I'm looking forward to partnering with all of you and seeing where this takes us. So with that, I will stop talking. And do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a couple questions in the chat here for you, Dane. One was your contact information. So we did share your email address. I also shared the link for the Iowa Office of Apprenticeship, the first tutorial you were on, and then I also shared the link that has the data.
Awesome.
So one of the questions is, with the number that you shared of participants and programs, do we know how many of those are justice involved individuals?
Our team does not. We would have to work with, again, probably DOC or community-based corrections with that data to cross-reference names there. We could get that, but with what our data collects, that's not one of the data points that we receive. That's a great question. I would actually love to know that as well. But we'd have to kind of work with our partners to kind of get all of that data into one pool and really find what that number is. So.
Gotcha. And I can add to that, Department of Corrections has over 30 registered apprenticeship programs in their institution. So I believe there's usually around 250 to 270, somewhere in there, incarcerated individuals that are active in those programs. So then staff that work in the prison IWD staff, we connect them to this process that Dane's kind of talking about and how to keep them going in their program post-release. So yes, that was a great question. The next one is you talked about the interest form. Do you want people to assist their clients in getting online and helping them fill that out, or is it something they should send them to the Iowa Works offices to start?
Either way, I think if it's easier for you to just help them right then and there, or even fill it out for them, it does not matter. The the biggest point is to just get the form submitted. And then obviously, once that form is submitted, then again, that career planner in the local AJC will reach out. And maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's a couple phone calls, but ultimately, they would probably like to have that individual come in and sit down with them and go through that. So it does not matter. Again, if it's easier for you to fill it out for them, so it's done and submitted, then absolutely. It doesn't matter who submits it. And I think, again, like, we track that, that's another data piece that we look at. So again, I ask, like, if you know of someone that's interested, please just complete the form for them or have them fill it out. It literally takes 2 minutes, because that helps us look at that, those trends of how many people are actually asking about apprenticeship. Then what does that look like? How's that conversation happen at those local AJCs? So it's all part of this whole process that with a new office, we're trying to, like, okay, how does this work? What is the best flow? How can we make sure we're assisting everyone and providing those services, but also being as efficient and effective as we possibly can. So even if you've talked to them about it, or even if they've talked to someone already at a AJC, just fill out the form. That way we have that at least for our data tracking. Another good question.
Shelley, this is Jennifer. Can I speak for a moment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. My name is Jennifer, and I am the statewide registered apprenticeship coordinator for the Iowa Department of Corrections. As Shelley mentioned, we have 31 registered apprenticeships statewide throughout our 9 institutions. We have right now 262 registered apprentices throughout the 9, and we've had 547 completers since the inception of the registered apprenticeship program. As Dane mentioned, they do have to have a job inside the institution, an apprenticeable job inside the institution to qualify for a registered apprenticeship program. And there are kind of 3 components to that. So it's the on-the-job training hours, it's the related training instruction, and then also we have a mentor that will guide them throughout the program. Shelley had also mentioned that we have a partnership with Iowa Workforce Development. So each institution has a program sponsor. And out of 6 of the institutions, it is Iowa Workforce Development, and they will help the incarcerated individual collect their hours monthly, proctor the testing for it, connect them to mentors, and kind of help guide them through the program. And then in the 3 remaining institutions that do not have Iowa Workforce Development employees, we do have reentry coordinators that will assist the incarcerated individuals in that program. Please let me know if you have any questions regarding the Department of Corrections apprenticeships.
Thank you, Jen, for sharing that information. Okay, another question did come in for you, Dane. Are colleges using the program when they enroll in the trades?
We can't hear you, Shelley. You're just really soft.
Oh, can you hear me now?
There you are.
Okay. Another question, are colleges using the program when they enroll in trades?
Yeah, some. We actually have a great partnership with a lot of our community colleges across the state. And they actually do a fantastic job, administering. They are able to take on, that managerial oversight of programs and really bring in employers. They have all of those connections, they have all of those services and staff right there on those campuses. So yes, not all. It depends on the program, it depends on where it is, but we do have many community colleges that we work with. And we're continuing to grow those relationships and kind of see again what opportunities we can do there, knowing that, this is a perfect hub. They not only have the staff, the people, the capacity, but they also have the facilities. They have classrooms, they already have curriculum. So it just is a very natural fit, at least for the related training instruction piece, for those colleges to work with local employers who provide the on-the-job learning. So yes, we do. We work very closely, and a lot of programs are within community colleges.
Great. That looks like that's all the questions we have in the chat. So thank you, Dane, for the presentation. That was wonderful information. And then our next session is